Welcome to
Math Problems number 120.
Ooh, actually 130. Sorry, my mistake. 130. So this morning we were talking about inequalities, right?
Yeah.
And we just got to a really interesting point, and then it was time to make the movie. So we'll just talk about this during the movie, okay?
Yeah.
So we just finished up saying if x was bigger than y, you could multiply both sides by a positive number.
Yeah.
And you still preserve the inequality. So if x is bigger than y, for example, 2x is bigger than 2y.
Yeah.
And we did some with fractions too, right?
Yeah.
Like 2/13 x is bigger than 2/13 times y. Now, do you understand why this is? Why you can multiply by a positive number?
Well, because you're multiplying the same thing for both sides, and you have a larger number, and you multiply it by 2, so you're going to get a larger product than y.
Okay, so that's an interesting way to think about it. You could think about multiplying the top first. You would get 2x is greater than 2y. We definitely know that.
Yeah.
And if you take a bigger number and divide it by 13, and you take a smaller number and divide it by 13, which is going to be bigger?
It's going to be that one.
Okay, that's a good way of thinking about it. Okay, but I said this isn't always true for all numbers.
What about negative numbers?
What about negative numbers as an example? But before we even get to negative numbers, what's a number you could multiply by? I'll call it a times x and a times y, where it's definitely not greater than anymore.
Definitely not greater.
Okay, let's say, in fact, let me do it even simpler than that. Let's say we know that 3 is bigger than 1, right?
Yeah.
No need to do this abstractly.
Well, what about 0?
3a, definitely not bigger than multiplying by a. What if it's 0? What if I multiply by 0? High five. What do I get when I multiply this side by 0?
You get 0.
What do I get when I multiply this side by 0?
0.
Is 0 greater than 0?
No, 0 is equal to 0.
Not greater than.
No.
No. 0 is equal to 0. So aha, we found our first rule that seems to break. It doesn't hold for all numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, we did the same thing to both sides of the equation, but our equality
disappeared.
got Mr. Sadface. Oh no. Okay, now let's see what happens when I multiply by a negative number. Let's just multiply by -1.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 is definitely bigger than 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, is -3 bigger than -1?
It's not.
It's not. What is?
-1 is bigger than -3, so the sign flips around.
The inequality reverses when you multiply with negative numbers. Whoa.
Wow.
Wow. So you're going to see with inequalities, you have to pay really close attention when you do any sort of multiplying and dividing.
Yeah.
As long as you're multiplying and dividing by positive numbers, no problem.
If you're multiplying by 0 or a negative number,
Then you got a problem.
wah,
And if you're dividing by 0, then you have what?
undefined.
Then you have an ultimate undefined problem. So this is why we have to study inequalities, because they have really interesting properties.
Yeah.
All right, good job this morning, huh? Good job.